What inspired you to research and write this piece?
That piece is meaningful to me because I wrote it specifically for the anthology Chicana Movidas that we edited. It was the first anthology documenting the history of Chicanas in the second wave in the Chicano movement. And, because Alma Garcia had written or had put together a collection of really critical archival materials, this was the first kind of secondary source collection on new work on Chicanas. And so in writing it, I really wrote it with that context in mind. And that book is very much about memory and about the political use of memory. And so that was on my mind as I was writing this essay. And I should say that I've written various essays about the Chicana por mi Raza project, um, each of which is kind of staking out a different kind of ground. And while earlier essays were really making a case for the archive as not a repository of evidence about the past, but really as a site of memory, and a way of thinking about the archive as an encounter or encuentro that is really about an exchange of intergenerational memory. So the archive is a kind of live, inhabited, affective space. And so with this essay, I was really motivated by this memory project that I was working on as editor for this collection, and working in collaboration with other scholars who I deeply respect.
What are the main takeaways of this article?
I wanted to find a way to argue against a narrow understanding of archival practice and of the Chicana por mi Raza project as an empirical intervention. Because in the academy, collecting or, sort of empirical projects that really involve the kind of collection and preservation of lost histories are seen as somehow like not theoretical interventions. And, one of the things that is at the center of that essay is thinking about how we could reframe how we understand collecting, which after all is seen as lesser than interpretation in the academy, right? And these are very gendered roles, right? We can't escape the fact that, men dominate the academy, and interpretation and original contributions of an individual scholar, like there's this whole philosophy that undergirds the systems of valuation of the kinds of labor we do in the academy. And collecting is viewed as the domain of librarians and gendered in very specific ways, and therefore less valued as academic labor in the academy. And so I wanted to make a case for collecting as a methodological, epistemological, and theoretical process that has deep roots in Chicana ways of knowing and memory keeping, and so really carve out a space for understanding the value of a project, which might just be seen as an empirical project, but about the value of that project as a political practice of memory.